Introduce Bailey. So stoked to have you here once again because we all want to be traveling right now. So many so many trips were canceled. So Bailey's based in New York City when she's not wandering around the globe. She's a multimedia journalist and a media professional who's been focused mainly on finance and tech, especially the overlap of the two, cryptocurrency. And she's traveled extensively around the world, and especially in the US, where she completed a 6-month, 48-state drive dubbed Money Tripping. And all she did was loaded a Ford Escape. So Bailey, with that, I'll let you have the floor.
Cool, great. Thank you so much, Leah. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen here. All right. So yeah, today we will sort of, I'll talk about some of the travel that I've done recently, but I'm going to start with this idea of traveling virtually. And so let's just jump into that. All right, how to travel from home. Just a little bit more about me. Here's just some random things that I've done. The journalism in the cryptocurrency space has really taken me all over the globe. I cannot say how grateful I am for that. I kind of fell into that about a decade ago, and really it's been great. I've just been able to bounce around the world. So here are some of the things that I've done. So I'm also a performer. I do comedy, poetry, and storytelling. You can see I'm almost showing my ass here on a comedy show. I also have chips in my hands. Those were for stories for the cryptocurrency space. You can see my map from when I did money tripping and yada, yada, yada. But we'll move on from there. So in 2020, I was supposed to do the Mongol Rally. The Mongol Rally has been going on for 16 years. It's put on by The Adventurists, and it is a 10,000 plus mile trip starting in the UK or Prague and ending up now in Russia. It used to be Mongolia, but Russia. You drive that whole way, and you drive in a car, a beater car. So you just buy it out of a scrapyard for like $10. It needs to hold 1 liter or less of gasoline. I think the idea is they want you to break down a lot. They want you to stop a lot and talk to the locals and really have some pretty crazy experiences. So sort of gearing up to do that this year. And then for the first time in its 16-year history, it gets canceled. So then I moped for months and months because I didn't know what to do. And then me and my teammate were sort of talking, and we're like, oh, we could do something on Google Street View. It obviously wouldn't be the same, but we could make something happen. He had to do some other work, and so I just started taking on this project by myself. So right now I am towards the end of this, but I have been doing about 3 videos a week. So basically I drive around with Google Street View in all these countries that were supposed to be on the route. And then I also bring on a guest from each country to talk about current events, so the pandemic, what are they doing in the pandemic, to talk about their favorite travel stories, what's there to do in their country, and also something that I feel very, very passionate about is stereotypes. So what are the stereotypes that they would like to combat? So for instance, French people are snobbish. They drink a lot of wine. Chinese people all look the same. In Mongolia, I just talked to somebody from Mongolia who said he would like to combat the stereotype that everybody rides horses there and there's no big cities. So all of these things that we sort of, if we haven't been to the countries, we have this built up narrative in our head. And most of the times those are not quite right. So I have been loving talking to people about this. That's one of my favorite things. I'll just flip through a couple pictures that I've taken. So all of this was taken on Google Street View. I'll get into how to use Google Street View here in just a second, but just kind of want to show you what things you can do with Google Street View. So yeah, just some super amazing pictures. All of these being screenshots. So here you can tell that this is a screenshot with Google Street View just because you can see this like light of God, which happens in some photos in Google Street View. We'll probably see some disruption in some of these pictures. If I see one, I'll point one out. Actually, a lot of these are pretty good. Okay, so here's another reason you can tell it's Google Street View. Sometimes on Google Street View, they'll put the names. So this is 7 lakes, and I'm gonna forget where this is at actually. But so they put the names of all the lakes over your images. Oh yeah, so here at the bottom, you can just see very slightly on the railing that it's fuzzy. And so again, it's just markers that this was taken on Google Street View and not, I did not go to these places. There's a cute little panda in China, more China, Hong Kong, England. All right, cool. So just gonna jump to it. I will start with the basics of Google Street View. I'm sure all of you guys have used Google Maps before. Everybody uses Google Maps. I will say that when somebody first mentioned Google Street View to me, I was pretty skeptical about it. Because I've worked in the tech industry for so long, I tend to be quite skeptical about tech in general. In my mind, or in my opinion, seeing sort of the shift to, you know, sitting at home and contacting people or doing things digitally instead of in the physical world, which I think there is something lost when that happens. Obviously, like today, we have to do those things. So anyway, I was pretty skeptical about Google Street View. I was like, oh, you know, it's not like traveling. It's not actually like traveling, yada, yada, yada. That is true. It is not like traveling, but it is something vastly different that I think is pretty positive. So for instance, I'm not gonna get to see the whole world. And even people who make it to every country, those people are not gonna see every part of the country. And Google Street View allows you, and Google Earth allows you to see parts of the world that you are just never going to see. And in talking with people who do use Google Street View pretty frequently, so these could be people just like me who have an interest in doing it. They could be people who can't leave their house because maybe they're agoraphobic, or maybe they have a handicap. Maybe they don't have the money to travel right now. These people all sort of say similar things. So Google Street View makes you feel so small, and the world seems so big. It is a feeling that some people mention when they actually travel, when they physically in real life travel. And I have had that sensation when I physically traveled, but it is nothing compared to how small I feel looking at the world through Google Street View. It's like the ability to see the whole world and then to dive into one specific section. It's a really surreal experience. Okay, so anyway, let's start with sort of the basics here. I am just on maps.google.com for this first one. We're in the globe view. Hold on, I'm gonna have to move you guys over a little bit. Okay, so yeah, this is just globe view. Here we are. Everybody knows what the globe looks like. You can also do a satellite view, which just makes it look a little bit more real. I actually prefer the map view here. Okay, so globe view and satellite view. We're going to start just by jumping to the peak in Hong Kong, which I just did this morning. Okay, so what you do here, you see these buttons in the lower right-hand corner. This button here that I'm pointing to, that is your location. It'll just take you right back to your location. We don't really care about that for right now. And then obviously zoom in, zoom out. I know that some of this will be really basic, but in case nobody has used this before. This is the key. Okay, so you have this little yellow peg man. You just click, you pull him up, you swing him around, and here is everything that you can look at on Google Street View. So the blue lines are quote unquote actual street view. That's where the car or whatever vehicle they're using has gone. And then you see these little circles also. These circles are user generated photos, which means that most of these circles, you're going to land on something that somebody thought was beautiful enough to upload onto Google Street View. So keep that in mind. Like, that's generally a very good way to find great places. So for instance, if I want to go to Peak Tower and see all of Hong Kong, instead of dropping myself into this little street view, I would go into the photosphere. So this dot right here, say, and you just drop the guy, in it goes, And here you have this beautiful picture. You can click and drag and pull around. Yeah, great. You can also use this little compass, again, right and left. It's just gonna move you a little bit faster and in a, you know, a nice crisp line instead of my little, wow, oh my God. But yeah, anyway, I've never been to Hong Kong before, but this makes me want to go to Hong Kong. This is amazing. Cool. Okay, and then so down here in the left, you can see the map that we were on before we dropped into the photosphere. You can just click other photospheres from here. So these little circles, you can click on these blue lines. You can drag this as well. So we can just jump to another one of these. And then you get this little place. So for instance, this is the reason why I think this makes me feel so small. Like the likelihood that I would go to Hong Kong is maybe high. The likelihood that I would see this particular setting is pretty low, right? Like I would have to know that I needed to go here. It is probably not necessarily on the high, you know, tourists need to go here or travelers need to go here. So it just makes you understand like how huge everything is when you can jump around like this and then jump to like a street, for instance. You're like, I would never have been here, you know? And then, okay, as you can see, you also have this little arrow where my pointer is. So if you're on Street View, you can just follow that street until it ends. So I can click forward. You don't go very far forward. This is, you know, a really tedious way of searching around on Google Street View, but you can see some of the buildings there, which is pretty cool. And you can just keep clicking this way. You can also move it around. That's also quite cool. Okay, great. Let's see, zoom in. All right, where am I at? Okay, oh, right. Okay, so let's go to like Kazakhstan. We're gonna zoom out just a little bit. And then I'm gonna take this out. Okay, so when you have nothing in this search field, what you can do, again, I'm gonna have to move you guys, sorry. So when nothing's in the search field and you are in this place, so we're Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, you can see down here that now by your little pegman, they call this yellow guy a pegman, there are these like picture boxes. Okay, so you can click on that and it's gonna show imagery. It's going to show places where you are at. And it's going to give you these little lines. So you saw that. I do not know how to say that. I do not know how to say most of these things. But you can see if you click on these boxes, these are going to be, you know, the tourist sites to go to, or what most people go to. And it's going to show you where these all are. So here's one in Almaty in Kazakhstan. I'm just going to click on this photo. It's going to show me that photo, and then you can click through other photos, right? Other amazingly breathtaking photos. You can get videos. That's kind of nice. And then let's see. Okay, so some of those, instead of just a picture view, some of those are going to drop you back into Google Street View. That's my favorite, to be fair. When you find those, they'll just have a little 360 icon on them, which is like a little circle arrow icon. And then you can move through this again. So amazing. Little view here. Scroll through. One of the other things that's kind of cool, I have never met anybody this way, but seemingly you maybe could. So this picture here, Street View, October 2017, it was taken and uploaded by this Solomon guy. You can click on him and you can get sort of his ratings. So people who upload a lot into Google Street View end up having ratings. They can be local guides. So seemingly you can go through all the pictures that they've taken, all the reviews that they've taken, and create your own sort of travel plan for these countries based on the people who are there and who take pictures and upload them to Google Street View. So that's kind of a cool way to plan a trip. Again, I have not met anybody. I have not found a way to actually, you know, reach out to these people necessarily, because it doesn't, you know, give their email address or anything like that. I'm sure there's a way, actually. I'll have to look at that a little further. But it's a good way to see what the locals see and plan your trip that way. Okay, let's see. Yes, okay, here's another thing I wanted to show. So not all images or 360 images are going to have this, but as you see, we've got a new button up here. So right over, I'm sorry, the compass, there's air and one. If you click the air button, it will bring you to an aerial view of where you're at, which is pretty cool. Aerial views are always great. You just get to see a lot of the city. It's a great way to, again, feel small because you're like, oh my God, this is so huge. And then you can click on the one again and get dropped down into where you actually were. So as you can see, it's the same spot. It's just aerial view and then ground view. So that's pretty cool. Okay, and then I was just going to show, I'll go back to that, but I was just going to show, these are sort of the vehicles that are used. If you see them, you should totally play with them. You should like give them the finger or a wave or like make a funny face or something. So this is the Google Street View car. You have a trekker. So again, like Google sends these out to backpackers and off they go into the woods to take some of these pictures that you're seeing. They have a trolley. They have a snowmobile, which is crazy. And then this little three-wheeler. So these are all the different ways that you're getting these images. And again, some of them are done by Google themselves and others are done by users, just random users who want to upload pictures onto Google Street View. Okay, and then I'm going to show one other thing here. Okay. So this is Christ the Redeemer. This is pretty popular, famous statue of Christ with his hands out. Most of you will probably know this. This is in Brazil. Let's see, go to the southeast. So again, you see all these roads. So that's where a Google Street View car or one of those vehicles, pieces of equipment has run. And then you see all of these dots, which is going to be where people have actually taken pictures. So let me see, I think this is the one I wanted to land on. Okay, right, so you sort of get dropped in here. This is 2019, before the pandemic, everybody's having fun. Sort of moving around here. Dun, 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 dun. There we are, great, wonderful. So over here, where you get, when you search an actual thing, you can get other pictures, as I had mentioned before. So you can sort of run through these. That's a very famous picture. You can also get some information about it. If you search just like Kazakhstan, here you get like reviews and all of that stuff. So it's worth like running through that if you're planning a trip to one of these places, because some of these reviews, like some are going to be pretty general, great place, a wonder of the world. Yeah, sure, we got it, we know that. But some of them will have more direct information. Like if you go to this particular location, you're going to get the best view, or this time you should go so that it's not so crowded. Yada, yada, yada. If you just do like Kazakhstan there, it's going to give you a description of the country, which is pretty helpful. Here, just the things that you can do, pretty obvious. You can go to nearby, you can save, you can share, and you can send to phone. So if you want to create, this is sort of for another time, but if you want to create your own map, you can totally do that. And you can create your own map, sort of like a travel vision board. So I could save this location and then export like a whole separate Google Street View map, which only has these things on it, so that you can sort of bounce around and also know, you know, what's my vision for 2021? Where do I want to travel? And you can sort of make a map like this, which is kind of cool. Okay, we are going to, oh yeah, and if you click on the red pen, you can get the actual coordinates of these places, which maybe is helpful to some of you. I probably would not use that, but again, that is how you're going to save. So if you click on save, it's going to save those coordinates as well. You're just sort of not seeing that part. Okay, so let me exit out of some of these so I can make sure that this is working. Okay, so here, past the basics of that, so that's your own sort of adventuring in Google Street View. On top of that, Google also has, and I do not work for Google, so I'm just going to throw that out there. It's like I do. This is a really amazing program, and so I feel like I should work for them. How good I'm talking about them. But okay, so outside of your own exploring, they have these different stories. So this is just a What is Street View page. You can go to these different views that, again, users have generated. So this is a dance view of Paris with Mufasa. If you view this collection, then you can see, you know, it'll just like pan through hers. You can take it and drag, so you can get a little bit different views. And then you can see all these other sort of dancey things. So that's like pretty cool. Okay. Street View, delete, home, dance. Oh, right. There's also, let me exit out of here. Again, I have to move you guys. Okay, so I mean, you can explore all of this. Like, one of the things that you should definitely do if you want to get into this virtual traveling thing is just, you know, if you're on this page, just start clicking around, because you're going to find some really crazy stuff. This is just the home page. There's also the Explore. One of the cooler things that I think Google has done as well is these success stories. So these are going to be videos of people who have used Google Street View to sort of map different locations. So I watched the Tonga one the other day. It's pretty amazing. This couple, anthropologist couple, is trying to map all of Tonga on Google Street View, because initially Google Street View was mostly in like cities. Now it's everywhere. It's been around for a while. But there are places where Google Street View doesn't necessarily go. And that's either because they don't have a partner there like these people, or it could be for sort of political or privacy reasons. So I'll just show you this real quick, if this is going to pop up here. Well, okay, I'll show you that later. Yeah, I have far too many tabs open. Okay, another cool project in Google Street View. So here we are at the Freedom Tower in New York. If you click on an image and it has this little clock view, you can click on this clock view. You can expand this. And this gives you a timeline, so you can sort of time travel and just see how this building has changed over time. Sometimes you'll see how landscape has changed over time. It's pretty interesting to sort of watch these things happen. I have not found very many of these clocks. I'm sure there's, if you Google sort of Google Street View time travel, you could find a list of the most relevant ones or the most popular ones. Obviously this building was going to be on it, but most of the time when I drop into a place, I don't see the clock. So just keep that in mind. It's just kind of a cool feature on some things. Okay. They also have Google Arts and Culture. So Google Arts and Culture means that you can see different museums. So 10 Astonishing Ceilings to see up close. I have been in the Victoria Albert Museum. I have been in art museums here in New York. So you can just flip through this. Not every museum is going to be on here, but some of them, a lot of them are. So this is a way to see a museum if you're like dying to get into a museum and they're not open yet. Okay. This is called Treks. So again, there's just like a ton of stuff you can do in Google Street View. So treks are typically, oops. Why can't I move this? Interesting. Okay, so we can do this one. I was gonna climb a mountain here, but we can go underwater. So treks, again, are things that are built up as projects. So one of them was El Capitan. That's what I was going to show you guys. It just has, oh, here it is right here. I see it. It was just behind you guys. Okay, so you click into this, start the climb, and then you can sort of scroll up, explore El Capitan. Wait. Sorry, I think because I'm sharing my screen, I'm not available for all these things. Okay. Oh yeah, all right. So these are hard to see, but there's little dots here. And you can sort of click into them. And you should be able to get more information. Yeah, okay, there we go. It's just going a little bit slow because I have 800 tabs open. So Google Street View and Google Earth, I'll get into Google Earth in just a minute, but these are high processing power. They need high processing power, especially Google Earth. So anyway, that's why this is moving pretty slowly. This is actually Alex Honnold, I believe, who is the guy who free soloed El Capitan. I don't know if you guys have seen that documentary. It's very anxiety inducing, but I would suggest it, but I'm pretty sure that's him. Free soloing is just climbing without ropes. So he did that, which El Capitan is like the hardest climb in the world. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna move on to, let's see. Oh yeah, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Because it's kind of neat. Okay, cool, great. So let's do Germany. All right, and I'm just gonna zoom out here. Whoop, that's a little too much. Come back. All right, so if you hold this little guy up again, you see the lines and the photospheres, the circles. What you will notice is that some places don't have much Google Street View going on. Germany is one of those places. That's odd. Why would Germany not have a bunch of Google Street View? Germany's privacy laws do not allow Google Street View in some places. So they don't want, again, if you sort of drop into these places, Google tries to blur the faces, but not always well do they do that. And so, yeah, Germany's privacy laws, no go. If we sort of move over here to Turkmenistan, which it is not allowed to take pictures in Turkmenistan, you will see that also there is hardly anything in Turkmenistan, hardly anything in Afghanistan, hardly anything in Iran. So you have these places where you're going to be pretty limited. There's absolutely no Google Street View there. But what you can do, so the things that I have found in Turkmenistan, you just have to kind of zoom in quite a bit, and then you'll find photospheres. So yeah, you'll find these user-generated pictures that you can sort of drop in and be like, whoa, I had no idea Turkmenistan would look like that. That's pretty crazy. And there's hardly any people there. Yeah, so that's just a little something that I think is kind of cool. All right, we're gonna move on to Google Earth. I'm gonna try to do this pretty quickly. Yeah, okay. This takes a huge amount of processing power. Launch Earth. So one other thing while this is loading, I'll just do, I don't know if you guys have heard of Earth Roulette. There's several websites like this. If you are impulsive and crazy, like I am sometimes, one of the things you can do is go to like Earth Roulette. You just click on this button, it generates you a random destination, and that can be your new, I don't know why it's doing that. That can be your new destination to travel. So if you're like, I just want to go somewhere, but I'm not sure where to go, you know, Earth Roulette, kind of a fun little activity. It could also be a fun activity to then search on Google Street View or search on Google Earth, because you're like, I have no idea what this place is all about, to be honest. So it gives you like a 2-sentence thing, but then you could go into Google Street View and search somewhere. Okay, yes, taking incredibly long. That's okay. let's see. Actually, maybe this is the better idea instead of just starting from there. Okay, so Google Earth, it's much like Google Street View, although it's going to, I don't actually really know the difference between the two. There's a lot of overlap. Google Earth seems to be a place where there's a lot more of these projects. So you can also get to the treks, like that climb through Google Earth as well. But some of the cool ones that I found on here, there's ABCs from space. So this is just where a space satellite has taken pictures of the planet spelling out the ABCs. So this could be a really fun game to play with kids to get them interested both in other parts of the world and then also learning their ABCs. There is, actually I do need to go into Google Earth. So hopefully that loads. Sorry about that. There's also exploring underwater. So a group of scientists have taken one of the Google sort of vehicles or handheld cameras, and they've taken it underwater in a variety of different oceans and seas around the world. It's pretty amazing. You can see a bunch of fish and stuff. Okay, so here is Google Earth. We are zoomed in pretty well. But yeah, so you're just gonna get, this is basically like the satellite view. And here we are. You can go to 2D, you can go to 3D. 2D is going to put you flat. Obviously 3D is going to be overhead. You can take your Pegman again here, you can drag it and throw it, and then you will be dropped into either the photospheres or the street views. Okay, if you go over here to Voyager, you can click on Voyager, and these are all the projects. So again, we have El Capitan here. I was going to try and find, oh, Mars on Earth is quite cool. That is in California. And this, let's see. So this should be one of the underwater ones. Yes, wonderful. Okay, take my little Pegman, throw him here. There we go, just moving so very slowly. Oh wait, that's not exactly what I wanted to do. Oh, this isn't actually an underwater one. Sorry about that. Yeah, but anyway, so you get these projects, they'll take you basically through the story. So this is about the killing of whale sharks. And then you can just flip through them. And every time you flip, it's going to take you to a new location. So this is sort of a way to travel with, you know, a topic in mind. So if you're interested in whale sharks, again, there's one underwater. So you can sort of explore underwater with some scientists. Okay. So here is also another cool feature of Google Earth is they have a time lapse. So this happens to be the Columbia Glacier region. It is just going to show you, here's the timeline at the bottom, and it's just going to show you how the glaciers have receded or changed over time. And there's a whole bunch of them. So if you look here on the left, you know, there's construction of a specific place in Germany. There's the drying of the RLC in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. So that's a sea that completely dried up. That would probably be really cool, but this is just, it's just going to loop. So it's just going to go on and on forever. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to go quickly through this and then we can take questions. So I just want to show you some of the Easter eggs that are also available in Google Street View. Again, if you just Google search Google Street View Easter eggs, you will find a whole list of them. So like I was saying, if you see a Google streetcar, you should totally mess with it like this kid in Russia did. So I'm zoomed in very wide, but once I start zooming out, you can see that he was just playing with it. And hey. Just going around and around. And it's just like some of the cool things you can find. So one of the things as I was doing the Mongol rally that I found that was like, oh my God, I can't believe I found that. In Turkmenistan, I actually jumped into a photosphere and found some of the ralliers from a couple of years ago. So just weird things like that you can pick up and you're like, oh my God, I know those people, basically. Also, as I'm sure you can tell, people are, like myself, are very interested in Google Street View and how to sort of create art out of Google Street View. Michael Wolf is a photographer. He takes screenshots. Well, he's an actual photographer and then also a screenshotter of Google Street View. He died recently, but he has projects called A Series of Unfortunate Events. So this is one of those. This is something he found on Google Street View, like an old lady lying on the ground, maybe looks dead. I don't know what's happening here. But yeah, so he has a series of pictures of unfortunate events. Let's see what another one is here. Yeah, you know, just like crazy weird things that you can find. He also has a project called Fuck You, and it's just people flipping off all the Google Street View cars. So that's kind of fun. And then today I found this person, Mr. Chris. He does not typically, as you can see, do Google Street View stuff, but he just came out with this new project where he's drawing things on well, not Street View, but on the maps, basically. So this is in Japan. He's just basically using the continents and the water to draw various different things, which I think is really cute. So just to give you guys some inspiration for like what you might want to do. And then this is the last one. So if there's any Doctor Who fans, you can go to this particular spot in London. You can click here on this little white thing. I don't even know what they call it, and you get dropped into the TARDIS. And so you can just sort of move around and explore this thing. There's not like anything to do here. You can't like click on anything, but then you click and you can go back out into the street. And yeah, continue your view of London. Cool. Let's see. And then, yeah, I'll stop there. I can take questions. I can talk a little bit about like how you meet people when you travel. I mean, in my mind, I just contact my social networks. So as a journalist, I have a pretty big social network, so I do have a privilege there. But don't be afraid to ping your social networks, you know, to your Twitter, your Instagram, your Facebook, like friends, family, strangers. Just ask them if they know people in places. That is the only way that I have gotten all these interviews as I'm doing the Mongol Rally. So it's just sort of friends of friends. It's like strangers, friends of strangers. People who travel love to connect people who also travel and who are also, you know, tour guides and this and that. So that's the easiest way. When I was on money tripping, so the 48 state drive in the US, I think I stayed at a hotel or a hostel probably like 5 times. And the only other way that I was able to stay with people is I would tell them what I was doing. So I would be at a restaurant and I would tell the server, hey, yeah, I'm just on this trip. I'm like driving across all the states. And you know, she or he would say, oh my God, like, where are you staying here? You know, and I'd be like, oh, I don't know, in my car. And then they just take me in. So it's a narrative that I think most people don't love because there is this idea that, you know, hitchhiking and traveling and staying with strangers is dangerous and scary. And I'm not saying that bad things can't happen. They definitely can. I'm saying that in all of the crazy, weird things that I've done, have not experienced a huge amount of scary situations. Again, not that they can't happen, not that they haven't, but people are really quite welcoming and good. And so if you just sort of allow them, they will take you in. And that was really lovely because then I didn't spend very much money on hotels.
That's so awesome to hear. Oh, Bailey.
Yeah,
No, go
ahead.
ahead. No, that's okay. I was just gonna curate the chat a bit, but we'd love to
Yes.
hear more about your experiences going across the 48 states. I was gonna start with the Mongol Rally, but if you want to continue on how you saved for this trip, or like what inspired you to take that money tripping, and like how you saved and prepped for it. I'm sure people would love to hear that.
Yeah, how did I do that? That was in 2015. So I have always wanted to do a 48 state drive. It was just pretty high on the bucket list. What happened was I was living in New York at the time, but then got transferred to London for 6 months. In London, I was house sitting for someone. And so saving a bunch of money because I had no rent payments. So I think that 6-month trip, I think I spent $13,000. on gas, food, you know, accommodations, stuff like that. In terms of preparing, like this is something I'm not good at. I don't plan very well. As you guys saw at the beginning, like my map was just all over the place. So really I just headed out. I did have a bunch of stuff in the back. So I had these little plastic tubs that kept clothes, you know, toiletries, Band-Aids, stuff like that. I packed far too much. Like really, if you're on one of these trips, one of these big overland trips, you wear the same thing over and over, especially if you're driving 10 to 15 hours a day. Yeah, you just don't care anymore. So I would say less is more. You don't need to pack every sundress you own.
Right. So going back to Mongol Rally, how difficult was it to find a car that can only hold like a liter of gas and be kind of beat up but still run?
Right. So we have not bought the car. The car is still. So the Mongol Rally, the adventurers who run the Mongol Rally, they have a couple shops that they would suggest.
Okay.
So really just wherever you are, you go to just a junkyard and you say, hey, like, give me something that runs and, you know, holds this. So like, I am super bad with car names, so I would not be able to even tell you the names, but I can send a list out later because there's a couple cars that Mongol Ralliers always decide to choose. Most of the time it's because those cars can be worked on anywhere. They don't have specific areas where the parts are only at. And also because they're good cars. They run forever. And even if they break down, you can usually fix them pretty quick and they'll keep going. But yeah, so I would say it's 50-50. People fly into the starting line and then go buy a car like immediately from, you know, a junkyard yard. Other people I've seen on the Mongol Rally Facebook group, they build their cars. So they get parts here and there. They spend a year sort of building this great, amazing car. A lot of them also put their flair on it. So they usually have really dumb names, really unique names. Somebody had, you know, like this, I don't know what it was, like an ox or something on the top of it, like this stuffed animal, big, huge stuffed animal, like mechanical bull looking thing on the top. Because I've done this project, Mongol Rally from the Couch, the little like love seat I have, I am planning to ship that over and then strap it to the top of the car so that we can sit on that when we're driving.
That is so
and
cool.
stuff. Yeah.
That is so cool. Have you heard of, I think it was my friend wanted me to do like a rickshaw race in like Sri Lanka or something like that.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
this reminded me of. So I'd asked in the chat. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this sounds crazy, but we didn't end up going. But it sounds cool. Like that's what it reminded me of when you started talking about this thing. So you said you already had a partner to go with, but like, are there ways to meet people who are like solo but want to find people to travel with? Like, what would you use to find those people?
So the Mongol Rally, their Facebook page, or they're like a Facebook group. So there's just the general Mongol Rally page. There's looking for partners for 2021. There's the 2021 in group. So all of these are going to be on Facebook. They don't really use a whole lot of Instagram or Twitter. But yeah, you can just request to join any of those. And even if you don't want to do it, or even if you don't think you can do it in 2021, I think finding the partner Facebook page, and again, I can send all these links out if people are interested in the Mongol Rally. But yeah, you can join that and then start networking with people who maybe live by you or don't live by you or whatever it might be, and start finding your team. The one thing that I wouldn't be too worried about the team thing. I mean, you want to have at least one other person probably, but a lot of the times the teams tend to caravan with each other. So there's two opening parties. There's an opening party in England and there's an opening party in Prague. And those are places, you know, people I'm sure get really, really drunk and like become friends, lifelong friends with people, and they end up caravanning together for a certain amount of time. So instead of just having the one partner, now you have like 3 or 4 cars that are going along with you, which is helpful in case, you know, cars break down or whatever.
Right. That is so cool. I love hearing about that. Now you've inspired me to want to do something like the rickshaw race or this. So
yeah, totally.
So Raj had a question. Can we use photos from Google Maps for commercial purposes, like on blogs?
That is a great question, and I do not want to tell you the wrong answer and then you get sued. I actually have no idea. I would assume, I have talked to somebody about this. I would assume yes, because you are, so for instance, like this picture that I'm at right now, if I just took a screenshot here, this is like a totally different image, right, than the image that you're seeing. And so in my mind, this is like fair use. If you're in photosphere, so this is actual street view, this is like a car that was going. If you are in, let me jump out here. If you're in street view, I would say use as you want. If you're in a photosphere, maybe just be careful. Just like think about it a little, because the photosphere is somebody has actually taken a picture, a user generated picture, and they've uploaded it. So if that is a 360 image and you just take part of it, you're probably fine. If it's just a still solid image, then, you know, I wouldn't like copy, paste it and put it on a blog for commercial use. Yeah.
Right. And even if you do, I mean, we don't have an exact answer, Raj, but I think you have to credit anyway where your pictures are coming from, like no matter what.
Yeah.
It's like a cover your ass type of thing. Just always credit, let people know where you got the picture from.
Right. Yeah. But I would say probably good.
Yeah. Okay. So how does one apply to wear the Google backpacker camera? I'm sure us travelers are interested in knowing how we can go scuba dive for Google and just take pictures the whole time.
Yes, totally. So Street View, there was a website. And I think, sorry, I'm moving you guys again. So Pro Contacts and 360 Tools, I think this is where you will apply.
Oh, wow.
This might be the business one. But yeah, so up here, contributors, businesses, Pro 360 Tools. So this is google.com / Street View. And you can sort of search around on here and figure out how to get a hold of some of that equipment.
That is so cool.
I don't know how easy that is though. Like
yeah,
if they give it to anyone.
I'm pretty sure it's a stringent process on who they're selecting.
But
I bet you there are people in this group that are fit to do that and who just have like the knowledge and the means to be able to contribute to Google in that way. That would be nuts.
Totally. Yeah.
Have you ever found anything like creepy or weird when you're like exploring Google Street View, Google Maps? I've heard those stories, you know, just like that guy whose webpage you brought up and he found those interesting pictures, but
yeah, I will say to find stuff like that is just, you really get lost in a hole when you're doing this. So if you're on a mission, it's going to take you all day. It's like a full-time job to like search around for, you know, the best pictures or, the weirdest pictures. So that guy spent just a huge amount of time looking for that stuff. I have not found anything like that. The Russian kid I found on sort of the list of the top Easter eggs kind of thing. So there's also a site that does dogs of Street View, and I have found a couple dogs. I've obviously in China found a couple pandas. So stuff like that is exciting for me when I like see an animal or a person. I'm all, oh my God, there you are. Instead of just landscape. There was, maybe I exited out of that. There was a picture that I got recently of, I guess these nomads, 2 women nomads with their camels and their little yurt. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing, but I haven't found anything creepy, no.
Yeah, that's good. Lucky, I'd say. Tell us about some, I think everyone's interested during this time, but some of your travels like during pandemic. I know some that were obviously canceled, like Mongo Rally, or where you're heading to next.
Okay, yeah. So I just got back from Jamaica last week. Jamaica is one of the few places that are letting Americans in. I know not everybody on this call is an American or from the US, so you know, you might be able to go other places, but it just, at the time when I was looking, it seemed like the easiest place to get into for me, because a lot of people are not letting Americans in right now. I will say, if you're going to travel right now, you can totally do it. You should totally do it. But there are definitely things to keep in mind. So when I went to Jamaica, I had to get a negative COVID test that had to be done within, I think, a week of my travel date. And then I also had to apply for travel authorization from, the Jamaican government or health ministry. So I had booked, let's see, how did this go? I had a flight on Thursday. You can only apply for that travel authorization 5 days ahead of time. So I applied on a Sunday. They said they were going to get back to me in 2 days. They did not get back to me in 2 days. So that would be Tuesday. So I was freaking out because I have a flight Thursday, but I definitely need this travel authorization to get on the plane. And on Wednesday night at midnight, they sent me my travel authorization. So I was stressed, to say the least, because I didn't know if I was going to if I should just wing it and try to get on the plane without the travel authorization, if I needed to cancel. And then when you cancel, are you going to get dinged with a fee? Right now, a lot of the airlines, at least till I think the end of October, are allowing for free change of flights and cancellations of flights. So that's like one thing that's really great right now. If you need to cancel because you don't get that travel authorization or whatever happened, you get COVID or whatever, they're being pretty lenient right now. So that's a good thing. The other thing I'll say is, once you get into a country, you're probably going to have to quarantine. Some places are going to be more stringent on that quarantine than others. In Jamaica, for instance, so when I got to the airport, they did a full health screening, asked me all the questions, probably took a little under an hour. Took my temperature, and then they watched me download an app on my phone and use that app. Then every day if you're there for 2 weeks, every day for 2 weeks, they're gonna notify you about 6 to 7 times a day on that app. You have to open the app, you have to put in your temperature, which, sometimes I would just be like, I don't know, it's probably 98.6, whatever. And then also they would give you a one-time password, and you'd have to take a video of yourself saying that one-time password. So Jamaica at least had really thought it through. Like, there was not a huge amount of ways to game that system. I will say I missed some of the check-ins, so I would just keep my phone in the location where it was supposed to be, and like I did go off a couple times and would miss a check-in and didn't get arrested. Nobody came knocking at my door or anything like that. But it does, you are going to have to stay put probably in a lot of these places, and especially in Jamaica, you're not supposed to travel at all.
Right. So you're expected to have a thermometer or a way to measure your temperature.
Yes.
That's interesting. I can't imagine the majority of people would have that, especially if they're like traveling there.
Yeah. So if you're traveling right now, take a thermometer, because I think a lot of places are gonna probably want you to check in at least sometimes. So I brought a thermometer just because I have some Jamaican friends here in New York, and they had mentioned that their family was having to do this. So I brought my own thermometer, which was key, because otherwise, I'd just sort of be faking it.
Right. And were people wearing like masks, and were they only doing outdoor dining, or how was it like once you were there?
So only outdoor stuff. People were not wearing masks. Okay. You had to wear a mask if you went in. So I went into a gas station at one time, and I did have to wear a mask or some kind of covering there. But yeah, most of the time people were not wearing masks. The cases are going up in Jamaica, so it could they could shut down the borders at some point, because I think they are sort of on the rise right now. The other thing to mention is that, oh crap, what was I gonna say? I don't know, I forgot.
That's okay. You can remember, you can just spit it out. Anyways, Bailey, this was so incredibly helpful, and I myself did not know I only knew about like 60% of what you were talking about. So I saw everyone in the chat going, what, this exists? Like, how do you even use that? So kudos to you for teaching everyone a new way to travel, new way to use like Google Maps, Google Street View. I had no idea that what was it? The time lapse in New York of the building was awesome. I was like, it's like a 9-year time lapse basically
Yeah.
of that clock. So very cool. We appreciate that so much. Yeah, everyone is just like, I'd probably go down a rabbit hole if I were trying to play around with it. So thank you again. I'm just gonna do a little bit of a closing, everyone. So
And I just, if anybody, I know that was probably very fast, but if anybody sort of wants, you know, a written explanation of what happened, or like all the tools that you can search, you can always add me. I'm sure all my social media is in this event link, but I can also drop it in the chat. My Twitter is BLR13. My name is
and
Bailey Reutzel. Oh, okay,
I just
cool.
dropped it all. I just dropped it all in the
Great.
chat. So you guys go connect with her. Like we say, they're doing, you know, Bailey and everyone else is doing this out of the kindness of their heart and all their knowledge that they're sharing with us. So we'd love if you could at least, you know, give them a follow or connect with them on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, send them a note of what this presentation meant to you. That would be super helpful. And